Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Cilinix Crypto, and welcome to this new video right here in your daily update on Ethereum. We're going to do a full update on the current situation for Ethereum. We'll talk about the order flow, we'll talk about the news that we had yesterday, and we'll talk about my general expectations going into this week, or at least going into today, tomorrow for Ethereum. We've obviously seen some nice recovery here, which was unexpected yesterday morning. Yesterday morning, I said, nah, I think we're going to have to pull back a little bit first before we can rally into 35 and 3600. Because ultimately, if you watch my videos, you did know that I expected recovery into 35 and 3600 to test those levels, and then based on that test and the fundamentals underlying when we actually got there, we would be able to reclaim that or not. But yesterday we got some good news, all right? And we briefly spoke about that, I think, in my middle of the day market update I did yesterday, or better said, a preparation for this week. I posted yesterday afternoon because obviously yesterday the good news that we got was about the US government shutdown hopefully being over. They still have to vote on it. But it seems that enough Democrats are actually gone over to the side of voting for it to end. That it's actually over. I think they need like 8 or 10 Democrats to do that, and it seems to be over right now. So that's great news, right? Now, I have to be honest, the crypto markets, which are obviously risky assets, and those do care about things like this, and that's also what you can see with the Russell 2000. I mean, the Russell 2000... which is also risky equities in this case. It's risky stocks, but the crypto market historically is very often very correlated to the Russell 2000. You can see that opened higher and it's rallying. But it's not at the same levels as where it was at the beginning of October. Or at the end of October, I should say. And the volatility index opened lower, but it's also still elevated. So yes, the fundamentals are better, but it's not over yet. And there do seem to be other factors that still influence the market for risky assets, such as Ethereum, in a bearish way. And then when we know that that is kind of the fundamental backdrop, right? So that's the fundamental context, that there is some improvement, but that there's no breakthrough yet, and that there is still some uncertainty regarding the financial markets. And then you talk about Ethereum here specifically. Like, I would argue that the move we've seen so far is completely in line with that fundamental development, but then we are near this critical resistance level at 3700. 3700 was the main support level we had throughout the month of October. That really held us up. And then you have the 12-hour downtrend here. You have the 30-day rolling VWAP acting as confluence for that level, as resistance. So then we have to be, fair, and we have to be a little bit strict and say, okay, well, do we see any reasons right now for Ethereum to reclaim that level? And to that question, I would answer no. Okay, there is something that I saw this morning, like ETH BTC is trying to get into an uptrend. I think it's a little bit early to say that it is in an uptrend, but if it were to get into a real uptrend, so this is the relative performance of Ethereum against Bitcoin, okay, then we could be able to reclaim, and then we could be able to, well, I suppose break out. But like I said, it's too early to say that. When we talk about the specific momentum that Ethereum has in terms of spot volume, but also in terms of leverage coming in, I would also say that's not enough to expect a breakout. It's not enough to expect a reclaim, especially not when the area that we need to reclaim, 3700, 3800, is so strong. So I'd argue that under the current fundamentals, like, can we rally a little bit higher? We still have an imbalance, for example, at 3790. Can we do that? I would argue yes. Okay, we have some imbalances to the downside, so we can retest that, of course. But I would argue that is quite likely. But to really reclaim that and to not just reject, which I think is most likely at this point of time, something like this, into the monthly point of control we have at 3,390, which is the most liquid area. Price tends to return to that always after a pullback like this. I would argue we'd need to see more fundamental recovery and more fundamental, I guess, de-escalation in certain ongoing events that are causing the uncertainty for me to say that we'll be able to reclaim that. So for now, I'd say short term, this is what I expect. And then afterwards, the pullback, if the fundamentals change in such a favorable way for the financial markets, that we actually do see an increase in momentum during the US session of, for example, today, then it might turn into something like this, right? So that we will be able to reclaim and that we're back into stability. But that I'll keep you updated on, and that I do not think is most likely at the moment. So those are my thoughts. Thank you for watching, everybody. Take care. I'll see you all in my next videos, and bye.